Hi, so I thought I'd do a little bit of a haul today since I have managed to acquire a few books. Most of these are library books, but there is one that I actually purchased. Ooh, that is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. This is a book a lot of people are talking about. In fact, I am avoiding a lot of people's wrap-ups and reading vlogs because I just don't want to know anybody's thoughts about this book until I've read it. But I also want to reread Vicious, and I don't think I'm going to have time to read either of them until November, so I'm just avoiding everything basically. And what I will say, so I got this and I actually bought the US edition because I just thought that this front cover looked a lot cooler. I do also have over here the UK edition of Vicious, so I actually have another edition of Vicious. I'm not gonna get it out. I have another edition of Vicious, but I got this one and it was so beautiful. It's got this ribbon, it's got this lovely inside, it's got this cool thing, and to be honest, the US version of Vengeful is not as good quality. Like, this doesn't feel as nice, doesn't have the ribbon, it's not as nice inside. The actual book under the cover is not as pretty, so I'm a little bit conflicted now. But if once I've read this I really love it, I might consider buying the UK edition. That's ridiculous. I shouldn't do that. This edition looks lovely on my shelf. That should be fine. But we'll see how much self-control I have. I'm really excited to read this. If you don't know what these books are about, then you need to remedy that and just go and read them, basically. But I guess very high level, it's about these two guys at university who are studying extraordinaries, which are people who have managed to obtain these superpowers, and they figure out how to obtain these superpowers themselves. The original book Vicious is also told through multiple timelines. So there's one where they're at university studying and learning about these powers, and there's also another timeline where they're now enemies and they're essentially trying to kill each other, and you're trying to work out how did that happen. This one, I don't know what it's about. I'm avoiding everything, as I said. I believe there is a character called Marcella that everybody is in love with. That's more than I wanted to know. I suspect that that's who this person is. Anyway, I'm super excited because I loved Vicious and I love V. Schwab. So that's the only book that I bought. The rest are all library books. Let's talk about the least exciting one first, and that is Cockpit Hat by Liesl Schwartz. So this is the second book in the Chronicles of Light and Shadow. This is a series that I just kind of thought was okay, but I want to complete it because it's alright. It's kind of like steampunk. If I had to try and remember what the story's about, there's this girl and her father's being kidnapped, and there's like, she's like someone who, what's the word, like a prophet? That's not the right word. An oracle? She's an oracle, I think, type person who can like predict the future or something. I don't know. It wasn't that long since I read the first book. I don't remember that much. Anyway, I wanted to read it, so I've got it. It should be a fairly quick read. I guess we'll see what I think about this once I've read it. I don't know. I think it's probably a 3-star read, but that's not going to work. I'll put it over here where you can't see it. I think it's probably a 3-star read, but I wanted to read it, so I've got it. And then I've also got The Boy on the Bridge by M.R. Carey, which is the sequel to The Girl with All the Gifts. I don't really know what the story is about, but I expect that it follows a boy very similar to Melanie, the girl we follow in the first book. It's very difficult to talk about what these books are about without giving spoilers, but the initial setup in The Girl with All the Gifts is that you follow this girl Melanie, who is basically locked up all the time, even though she's a young girl. Every day they lock her into this wheelchair and they keep guns pointed on her and they roll her out into the classroom where she's with a bunch of other children in the same situation. And the guards all seem very scared of her, and you're kind of left to figure out what's going on. It was very action-packed, very scary, just kind of like a horror dystopian type book. If I could actually tell you what was going on, you'd be very clear on what's it about. Anyway, I really enjoyed The Girl with All the Gifts, both for the kind of the plot and the action, and also just the emotional side of it. So I'm hoping this will also be the same. Also, finishing this will let me tick off a series that I have in progress. That's the same reason I'm reading the other one, really. I'm just trying to tick off all those series, so this will let me finish a series off. So the rest of the books I have here are all graphic novels, most of which I got because they were either a sequel to a book that I read during the Get Graphic With It readathon, or I had put them on hold for that readathon and they didn't quite arrive in time. So the first one is Orange Volume 2. So this story, in the first volume you follow this girl who starts getting letters from her future self, and they're trying to tell her to look out for this friend that they have. And when I finished the first volume, I had to get the second volume straight away because I had to know what was going to happen. I don't really know what this volume will be like, but I'm hoping for a happy ending, and if I don't get a happy ending, I'm going to be real mad. So I will probably try to get to this right at the start of the month. In fact, I think I might do like a little mini graphic readathon again at the start of the month just to get through all of these, although it's going to be a hard call. Do I read my graphic novels and find out what happens at the end here, or do I read Vicious and Vengeful? Oh, just too many good books. I also have Anya's Ghost by Vera Brosgol. This one I don't really know much about. I believe it's about a girl who has a ghost for a friend. That's all I need to know. I just thought it looked kind of cool. I know this is one where I had put the hold on it and didn't quite arrive on time. I was going to use it for the challenge to read a black and white graphic novel, but I guess now I will be reading it next month. So then the next graphic novel I have here is Serenity Volume 4. So this is the graphic novel series based on the Firefly TV series and the Serenity movie, where we follow Captain Mel and his kind of band of, the word? Criminals is the easiest word. I don't really know what this particular volume is about, but it is a lot longer than a lot of the rest of the volumes, and I'm hoping that, like the third volume, this will actually add something to the story, because the first and second volumes didn't really add anything, but this hopefully will. I guess we'll see. Then lastly, I also have Volume 2 of White Sands by Brandon Sanderson. So as a Brandon Sanderson story, this has an amazing magic system, although not as amazing as I was hoping, but we do have these guys, these ones dressed in white, who can control the sand. But there was a bunch of conflict in the first book that led to a lot of people dying and some strange situations happening. It will be interesting to see how this goes, because I did find the first volume a little bit disappointing. I think I really like the story, but I don't think it's well suited to graphic novel format. I also know that the art style just changed at the end, and I think I might like that art style better, because this one is all very sketchy and very white, all the time white, whereas then in the later bit it's much more like sharp lines and more blocky, and it does look like maybe there's a little bit more color, although not that much. Anyway, it's Brandon Sanderson, so I'm sure that the story will be good, even if the actual graphic novel doesn't quite cut it for me. So that's quite a lot of books that I have out from the library lately. I actually think I need to start like taking less books out and putting way less on hold, because I'm not getting a chance to read any of my physical TBR down there. I recently actually made a Goodreads shelf with all my physical TBR, and there's like 106 books, and that is ridiculous. I think next year definitely it's going to be a goal for me to get that down. But at least next month I will read Vicious, so that will get it down a little bit. Oh, I don't think I added that to the shelf though. Oh well, anyway, I have a lot of library books to get through, and I will need to get to them early in the month, I think, because a lot of these have hold lists, and so I won't be able to renew them. So I just need to read them. Because isn't it just the worst thing when you have to return a library book without even reading it? And I've had to do that a couple of times lately, and I don't like it. Although I guess if you have read any of the books that I talked about today, then if you think they're not really worth the time, maybe let me know, because I'll put them at the bottom of the list, so if I have to return something without watching it. So if I have to return something without reading it, then at least maybe I can pick the ones that are the most likely to be less enjoyable. Anyway, that's all for today, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.